Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest episode of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon, your host, here with you. And my co-hosts for this week are Senior Archie Mitchell.
Hola.
And my brother Aaron.
Hello.
And this week we're going to kind of do the same kind of format we've been doing for the past few episodes. Start off with talking about a match of the week, which usually just delves into talking about the wrestlers involved in the match of the week. And then we will have a top five or a favorite five. I guess I kind of call it my favorite five because I don't necessarily, other than number one, ever have a real order to it.
Right.
But this week we are doing our personal five favorite movie villains.
Yes.
And as we've discussed in the past, as we go through the months, weeks, and years to come, sometimes these, last week, and unfortunately, Archie, you weren't able to be with us.
Yes.
I was
under the weather.
Yeah, it was your suggestion, though, for the top five. And then this week, just kind of broader topics. Now, a year from now, we might say, all right, what's your top five favorite comic book movie villains or sci-fi movie villains or something? Exactly. But this is more of a broad top five for this week. And then, of course, the match of the week. We're going back to before Aaron was born, I believe before Archie was born, and I was like a year old when this match happened. Yes. From 1979, it is Stan Hansen and Antonio Inoki. And the funny thing is, I looked and I was like, oh, it's Hansen and Inoki. Okay, I'll watch it soon. And I didn't really look at, obviously, Aaron, when you sent the link, I didn't look at, time, place, all of that. I just saw it was Hansen versus Inoki. So then when I did finally go to watch the match, I was like, what? This is in Stampede? Like, I did not expect Hansen and Inoki.
I told you that.
I guess I didn't catch it then because I actually wasn't even paying attention to that. And I clicked on the match for it to start. I wasn't looking at the title or anything. And then I heard a commentator sound like this. I was like, that sounds like Stampede. It is Stampede.
Yeah. So we're going with the match first then?
Yes, it is. It is Stan Hansen versus Antonio Inoki in Canada. I think the only match they ever had against each other in Canada.
I would assume so, yes.
And it is, and I have it down here, and now I lost it. I had the actual date down on my notes, and now it's not there. But anyway, it's from I think it's from like September of 1979.
I would think so, yeah. I didn't write down the actual date.
One thing I did write down at the beginning of the match, the flowers are presented by
Diana Hart.
Diana Hart.
Is that? I thought she looked familiar.
Yes, and by the way, Diana Hart, one of the greatest heel lines in the history of professional wrestling. Shawn Michaels, I know you want me. The way that's presented and the way Shawn reacts to it, everything, and the crowd's like, oh, it's just like it's one of the, to me, it's one of my favorite heel moments in wrestling ever. And she is just so confident that Shawn Michaels wants her. She's like, Shawn Michaels.
And he's like, don't flatter yourself, lady.
And she delivers it so dry.
Yeah,
with
it's
no
great.
Emotion, stone face. That it's like, even you don't believe this right now, Diana. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Nate, I went and I looked at the video, and the date is August 17, 1979.
Okay. Pretty close. So, I said September.
But. Yeah, but still, same thing.
Brett talks about his family dealing with Vince, and he said obviously he didn't have to tell, like, Owen stuff or whatever, but he'd always tell because, the Hart family obviously was always involved with the WWF. And he said Diana was like excited to be involved in it or whatever. And Brett told her, he was like, when you get in there, I'm going in with you because I want to be in there because he didn't want Diana like talking to Vince by herself,
Right.
Because Vince can talk anybody into anything. So he said, we're gonna go in there, we're gonna listen to what he's got, but don't agree to anything. And
don't fall for any
he said he He said he walked in. They walked into Vince's office, and Vince shook her hand and was like, "Hey, welcome, Diana," and sat her down. He's like, "We're gonna talk about what we want to do," and she just, before Vince could even say anything, she was just like, "Yeah, whatever you need, Vince. I'll do whatever you want."
She gave it that easily.
He's like, he could tell you to paint your ass red and walk on your hands down to the ring,
Right.
and you'd have to
It's
do
like
it now.
it's like I've been working for this. I've been working for this guy for like 12 years. You need to listen to me. You listen to me. I guess at that point, what would that have been? What, 92 before SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, he hadn't been there. I was thinking of 96 with the Shawn Michaels thing, but yeah, he's like, I've been working for this guy long enough. Just follow my lead. And then she just,
Whatever you need, Vince. Do whatever you want. Jesus Christ. But anyway, the match, Ed Whalen reminds us, is 61 minutes because I believe he says it's a Japan rule.
Yes. In Japan, they give him an extra minute in case
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck he was talking about.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it could have been what he was saying was that if the match goes 60 minutes, there's the option to have like a 1 minute overtime. And then if you can't get a victory in the 1 minute, then there's a draw and whatever. And I'm not a 1970s Japanese wrestling expert. I'm not even a 2000 whatever Japanese expert, so it could have been a thing. I mean, they had interesting rules over there, like the 20 count, shit like that.
Right. I thought so too, Aaron. But I did look into it, and this was just something he came off the top of his head with. They have never done a 1 minute over. They've done a 5 minute sudden death when matches have gone the 60 minutes. But this was just something the announcer decided he wanted to add to the match to make it fun. I don't know why. So,
right.
especially seeing as at the end of the day, the match only goes like 13 minutes.
11. What are you talking about? The whole video is 13 minutes. The match ends at the 11-minute mark. So, but it's a pretty good match for two big, brutish guys. You know what I mean? I was expecting more striking, but there were a lot more holds, actually.
Yeah,
Arm
there was
bars
actually that spot where Inoki, like, Hansen went to give him to do like a knee drop on him on his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And Inoki took his long ass legs and put his feet on the ropes and then like did a flip over, and they kind of did like a lucha flippy kind of thing. And I was like, oh,
right.
Yeah, no, Inoki was. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert or anything like that, and I haven't watched his entire career, but that dude was really fucking good.
Yeah, he was.
Like a lot of times you hear about these guys from the other countries, and then you watch them or whatever, and you're like, this guy's kind of a schlub, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But not Inoki, man. Like, I've watched like Carlos Colon matches, and I'm like, I don't really see it.
I don't get it.
You know?
I don't get it. See, Aaron, it's funny you should say that, because when you guys remember when they made this big deal about signing Sin Cara, like 10 years ago or however long it was, and it was Mystico, and he's the jewel of Mexico. And so when he debuted and I saw the botches that he did, I'm like, I got to go back and see what this guy was all about. And then I watched like 4 or 5 of his 6-man tags and 8-man tags in Mexico. I'm like, but he's still botching here. I'm like, it's not even, he's sloppy even by Mexican standards. You know what I mean? It's like, so why was he the crown jewel of Mexico then? And I get to Aaron's point, Carlos Colon the same way. In some ways, Mil Mascaras was very sloppy too. So Inoki was not like that, though. If you praised Inoki, there was a reason behind it.
Yeah, and he is. You have to also give him credit, him and Giant Baba, for being the fathers of what is now modern Japanese wrestling. And so those of you that don't know the story, they both came out from under Ricky Dozan. And then they had a split, and Giant Baba went and made All Japan Wrestling, and Antonio Inoki went and made New Japan Wrestling, and there you go. That was what it was. And I think at one point Inoki even left New Japan and made this NWF, which I think is the promotion that they're quote unquote wrestling for in this show. And like Aaron, I'm not an expert in Japanese wrestling. I just know what I've picked up over the years, but Now, as far as Hansen goes, I love me some Stan Hansen. Any era, Stan Hansen.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's like a lot of times I watch and I know my buddies Bob Smith and Brian Solomon, they like the late 70s, early 80s WWF stuff. And I'm not saying it's bad, but a lot of times the WWF presentation to me, as compared to like the other territories like Mid-Atlantic or whatever, is very boring. And, and there's not a lot of promos. And even when there are promos, unless it's someone like Blassie or Albano, they're kind of bland. Even Bruno, oh yeah, hey, yeah. But the like 1970s, early 80s blonde Stan Hansen in the WWF, the guy that broke Bruno's neck or whatever, that was a badass incarnation. Any incarnation of Hansen in Japan.
Yeah. And it was good there because it was like it would have been good no matter what, but it was different than what everybody else was doing,
That's kind of the point I was trying to make. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Like he stood out in that era of the WWF.
And like talking about those guys liking it, I know you're not knocking them for liking it, but that was that was their wrestling. You know what I mean? It's like we say all the time: you like what you like when you were a kid. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But like I'm sitting back right now watching '98, and I'm just like, this is awesome. It's just because that was what was on when I was in junior high. But anyway, even when he got, and it wasn't a long run, but even when he went to WCW and like feuded with Luger and stuff.
Well, that was I mean, obviously now hindsight 2020, going back and watching all the old wrestling I've watched over the years. But that incarnation of Stan Hansen in the WCW, like attacking Luger and all that was my first introduction to Stan Hansen as a kid.
Me too. Me too, because I wasn't watching WWF back then when he was there. And I hadn't started watching Japan either. So when Stan Hansen came out of the crowd and took out Luger and had that, cowbell with him and that bull rope and everything like that, I was like, wow, who the hell is this?
I got a big fat wife and 2 big fat kids at home.
My favorite line from his time there was when they ranked him number 6 in the championship contention. He was like, 6. I ain't ever been number 6 in anything in my goddamn life. It's a great fucking line. He didn't have the microphone around him or nothing. He just walked out on the stage and was just losing his shit. I'm like, this is great.
And
that's the shit with Missy Hyatt.
Yes, I was about to say the stuff they did with Missy Hyatt, him and Missy Hyatt in the locker room. Like she's trying to go interview like sexy Tom Zank or whatever, and every time she winds up, it's fucking Stan Hansen in his drawers or whatever, his boxer shorts coming out of the shower or wrapped in a towel or whatever, trying to whoop her with his.
Dusty Rhodes like, them the biggest pants on. Biggest pair of underpants I've ever seen in my life.
And coming from Dusty.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, Stan was fucking awesome. And just and like I said, I think, how do I want to say it? Like I think they maybe toned this match down a little bit just because of like know your audience or whatever.
Right.
But
yeah, they really didn't go for it. It was hard hitting, but it was not what you come to expect from Hansen and what I've seen from Inoki in the past as well. You know what I mean? The chops were definitely held back on.
And part of me thought it was interesting too, though, because like, I've found a lot of Stampede stuff. I haven't started watching it yet, but I love reading about it and everything. And Stu was kind of like, revolutionary with Stampede because he would just bring dudes in from all over the world and not like change them. You know what I mean? Like he might give him a different name just because, Ed Whalens might not be able to pronounce this Japanese guy's name or whatever. But he brought in people from everywhere and just had like a very eclectic style. Like he would bring guys in and Vince would bring in Japanese guys and make them work the WWF style or whatever. That's fine. But Stu didn't really do that. And like he bring guys in from Japan and guys in from England and guys in from here and guys in from there. You know,
that was kind of,
what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about Inoki and Hansen, but talking about that approach that Stu took, to be honest with you, something you got to give him credit for. You know, a lot of people like to detract a lot from him, but something you got to give him credit for is Eric Bischoff was also like that with WCW.
Oh yeah.
You know, Eric Bischoff was like, you know what, we're going to bring in people from Japan. We're going to bring in people from Mexico. We're going to bring in, you know, and we're not going to really change them that much. We're going to let them do what they do.
And we're just going to acknowledge that they're from there. They're from, you know what I mean? Like they brought Hakushi in, but they didn't go, oh, this is, and I never can pronounce his actual name, but like they didn't say this is this guy from
Jinsei
New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I was gonna
yeah,
say
they didn't say that, you know.
Right. No.
Like
so.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, Eric should get credit for that, and Kevin Sullivan to a certain extent too. But
see, the thing I always think about when I see things like that, Aaron, is if you go back to wrestling's first days, it was in carnivals and sideshows, and they didn't. When you wanted like a quick attraction, you brought in a bear or what, you know what I mean, whatever the guy was going to be. I still feel that at this time in the 70s and 80s, wrestling was a lot like that. You brought in a special attraction. So if you're bringing in Inoki and Stan Henson, why are you going to put makeup on them and call them something else when this is what you wanted to begin with? You want to show your fans something they're not accustomed to seeing. So yes, Stu was definitely great in doing that.
Yeah, that Stampede promotion, man, it had an eclectic, wild group of characters. It's crazy.
Yeah, and anything I've ever watched of Stampede, I don't dislike Stampede. The only thing that turns me away from Stampede is the commentary. Like,
yeah, Ed Whalen sucked.
But other than that, it was a great promotion. Like you said, it was kind of like the Wild West of professional wrestling, you know, just.
That's a good way of looking at it, yeah.
Like they'd have young guys, and then they'd have guys that are older and fucking dirt out there too. Like
yeah, like Archie Stomper.
Yeah, Archie Gouldy out there at like almost 70 years old. Here I come, Bret Hart. Jesus,
yeah.
Bret's 19. It's gonna give you a heart attack, old man.
Then I love that round table when they're talking about like Canadian wrestling or whatever, and they asked Bret, who's the greatest Canadian wrestler of all time, and Pat Patterson's sitting right next to him, and he's like, I'd say Archie Stomper. Pat Patterson's like, are you kidding me? Really? The Stomper? like he's so offended for some reason. Like, I don't know why. It just cracks me up every time I see it. Because Brett's like, yeah, the Stomper, he's the man. And Pat's like, I'm like, right here, dude. Like, but anyway.
And Bret could have very well been doing that to rib Pat too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because Bret's a fucking shit stirring ribster. So, but the match itself, like Archie said, I was expecting obviously I was expecting it to be in Japan when I first saw the link, but I was also expecting a little more stiffness, a little more snugness. But like Archie said,
when Aaron showed us the match,
know your audience.
You saw what I said. Strong style personified, because that's what I thought these two guys were going to bring to the table: lariats and chops. And then we got to the match, and I'm like, okay, headlock takedown, okay, armbar. Like, what the hell? This is a scientific masterpiece right now. What happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't pick up the stiffness until probably the last 2 minutes of the match. Then they really kicked into gear.
Right. And then here's what puzzled me. The Inoki got up top, dropped a knee drop from the top rope. And I still don't know, did he win or not, because he kicks out. It looked like Hansen kicked out, and then the video ended and started back over.
I'm pretty sure he did get the 3 count. Right, but you're right. I thought that too. Like, the video started up again. Like it was like the video started from the beginning again.
Right.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he got the pin. I'm pretty sure I saw 1, 2, 3.
I think so. But in my mind, he did. You know what I mean? I'm going down. I'm going to say he did. But you know, it was for what it was a good match. Actually, it was a pretty decent match.
You know, it was he got the pin. I think they did a little bit of I don't want to say it. I think they might have did a little bit of a disputed finish, maybe just
right.
because everything they would film over here, they take back to Japan. So they probably did it to do that. You know what I mean?
Have a rematch ready to go. Right.
Yeah.
But overall, like I said, I gave the match good high marks, and then I give both of those guys high marks. Again, Inoki deserves every bit of credit that he ever gets for being one of the pillars of the industry, of the modern professional wrestling industry. Agreed. And Hansen doesn't get enough love nowadays anyway. He did back then. He was acknowledged back then, but he's kind of there with Vader now and stuff where and again, it's a lot of it just comes from WWE pretty much controlling the narrative now and who they want us to remember and what they want these younger wrestling fans to think were the great ones. But Hansen nowadays doesn't get enough. He does from people like us that know, but in the general broad scheme of things, he just doesn't get enough credit for what a great big man wrestler he was.
I agree.
Anything else on that match, Aaron, before we move on to our...
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I agree. And the only other note I have is that I always like panning the crowd. I don't know why, but like old wrestling, I like looking at the crowd. And two guys sitting next to each other. I'm sure you guys didn't see it, but I was like, it looked like Matthew McConaughey and Hunter S. Thompson just sitting right next to each other. Like the dude looked just like Hunter S. Thompson, and he had like the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And like there was Matthew McConaughey. He looked like Matthew McConaughey from fucking Dazed and Confused. I'm like, look at those guys. And they were together. Like
all right. Here comes Stan Hansen.
You want some ether?
I've been watching Stan Hansen since watching Stan Hansen was cool.
You like Stan Hansen? No, I don't. It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Like I said, then the other guy's just asking everybody, "You want some ether?"
You know what I like about Stan Hansen? No matter how old I get, he stays the same age.
One of my favorite movies. All right.
Yeah, mine too. Wife hates when I put it on. I don't know why. She's like, really? Dazed and Confused again?
Well, here we go. We're going to talk about
real quick.
Oh, sure.
Sorry. Did you know he made up that line?
On the fly? Was it in the script?
No, he made it up.
Wow.
I watched this thing.
The high school girls line?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't. We went through like 3 or 4 different lines. I wasn't sure if that.
I know, but yeah, that high school girls thing. He came up with that. He was like, you know what I like, and he just came up with it, and they were like, "That's the best, best line of the whole fucking movie," and it wasn't even right.
That's a line that wouldn't fly today, Aaron. If they tried to say that in a movie, that movie would be canceled instantly. But it is the best line in the whole movie. I agree.
In the annals of film, there have been many villains. And this list, when I did this list, I was actually in no way trying to be Mr. Cinematic or Mr. Critic or anything. Because, and one of you guys might bring them up. But I would say that a great movie villain, and I would say that theatrically, and if I'm going to look at a list of movie villains, I would expect to see at the top Hannibal Lecter. However,
well, that's funny. That's funny because, well, go ahead.
However, he's not on my list that I have, and that's not saying he's not a great movie villain. He's just not one of my favorite movie villains. He's up there. He's great.
I wrote out my list and then I changed it about 8 times because at first I was involving horror film villains, and then I'm like, but wait, maybe we don't want to go because we could always do another list about that. You know what I mean? So we can include him, but we can. So at first I had like Freddy on my list and Jason, and then I'm like, but yeah, okay, never mind. And then like you said, I had Hannibal Lecter at 1, but then I had to change him and put him up a little higher because he's not my favorite movie villain. You know what I mean? He's not my all-time favorite villain. So this is obviously a subjective list between all of our opinions, but I looked up other lists after I completed mine, and Hannibal Lecter ranks number 1 on a lot of them.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Oh, sorry.
No, let's just say I do the same thing. I'll make my list, and then I'll be like, well, I wonder what actual human beings that aren't me feel,
Right. Yahoo or what top, the top Billboard 100, one of those,
And I'm not like a huge movie guy. Like when I watch a movie, a lot of times it's like a comedy or something like that, and I wouldn't put like a comedic villain on a fucking, you know what I mean, on a list.
No, I agree with that.
Like Shooter from Happy Gilmore, it's a great fucking villain, but he's not one of the greatest villains in cinematic history. You know what I mean?
Right.
When your best line is "Go back to your shanties," it's like it's not. It's a different thing, But so I did kind of look at some lists and be like, maybe there's some things I didn't think about, and the only reason I put Hannibal Lecter on my list is because every single list, he's the only one that I took any kind of bias or any kind of like influence from. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I'm going to put him on there in case you guys don't bring him up. So I can bring up the fact that like every fucking list I looked at, and I think even IMDb did too, had him as number 1. And I think those movies are boring. I think those movies are boring.
He was between 1, 2, and 3 in every list I looked at. You know what I mean?
And I think those movies are boring.
Now, see,
I'm not knocking his acting.
I won't say all of those movies are boring, Aaron, because I do like some of them. But see, what I think makes why he hits that list is because the Silence of the Lambs series spans so long. There's like 8 movies in that genre, in that series now. You know what I mean? From part 1, Silence of the Lambs, to them doing a Hannibal Lecter series after that. So it's such an iconic villain.
Is he even a full-blown heel?
Well, I mean, other than the fact that he killed and ate people, I guess not, because he was helping the police in most of it in the movies. So
hello, Clarice.
Hello, Clarice.
Yeah, he's a tweener.
He actually has one of my thing, and I guess since you said he was on your list, Archie.
Yeah, he's on both mine and Aaron's list, so we can definitely talk about him.
Cool. We'll just start with that. He has he has actually one of the lines that he has in one. I think it's at. I can't remember if it's the first or second one. It might be the second one, but either way, he goes, "I hear you're back on the case, goody goody," and I actually like that goody goody. The way that he says it, I use that in my life. I'll be like, "Oh, we're here at a stoplight." Goody. It's like a sarcastic thing.
Right. And like I said, I would never say like Anthony Hopkins sucks. You know what I mean? It's like one of the greatest actors of all time. But I just think those movies, they don't really do it for me. I'm not saying they're bad movies.
I do really like the first one.
I watched that movie.
I like Red Dragon with Edward Norton, but go ahead.
Like every time I watch one, I'm like, I don't need to watch that again. Like, that was okay.
They're very psychological, Aaron. If you watch them, they do. You really gotta pay attention to every nook and cranny of those movies in order to understand them the right way and say what you liked about them. You know what I mean? I agree. I agree, man. I agree.
Like when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, something fucking happened. Like I don't understand. Like I don't understand. Like when people like go to a theater and plunk down money and they go and watch like The Bridges of Madison County.
Oh, I've never seen that yet. I agree with you on that.
I'm just using that as an example. It's like nothing's fucking happening.
Right. No, I agree with you. Yeah, but Hannibal Lecter is definitely on both mine and Aaron's list. Nate, you want to give us your first one?
Yeah, I'll do that, and then we'll just go. I'm just looking at the way the screen goes here. We'll just go from me to Aaron to you, Archie.
Sounds good.
The first one on my list, one of my favorite movie villains, is from one of my favorite movies. It is Johnny Ringo from Tombstone.
Good one.
I love Johnny Ringo. Curly Bill's fucking great too. I mean, they're kind of a good tag team, a heel tag team. But Johnny Ringo's
he was the prick of the group.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all pricks, but he was the worst. He shot
like he's the guy that even all the other bad guys are like, damn.
Didn't he shoot the priest or shot the
yeah, because that's when Curly Bill goes, God damn. Like he's like, what the fuck did we get when we got this guy?
No, I love the character, and I am a huge fan of the movie Tombstone. I am. You mentioned, the whole saying "goody goody" and having it in your speech when when you're talking or being sarcastic. Whenever somebody mentions something that nobody wants to do, the first words out of my mouth is, "I'll be your Huckleberry."
I'll be your Huckleberry.
And I've said it so much that I finally had to look up what the damn word meant, and it was bone chilling. You know what it means, Dave?
I think it has to do with undertaking, doesn't it?
There you go.
I was going to say, yeah. I know it had something to do with like the funeral process.
They used to call it pallbearer a huckle, because they would huck the body into the grave and bury. So Huckleberry. And I'm like, that would made it the coldest line ever.
and I know we're not talking about Doc Holliday, but because him and Johnny Ringo are like Hogan and Savage, the perennial enemies.
Exactly.
He has Val Kilmer's so fucking good in that movie.
Oh,
and some of his lines, man, like he's like, you're drunk, you're probably seeing double. He's like, I got 2 guns, one for each of you.
There you go.
What I like about their characters too is like
they're very much alike.
That, and they were like the side dudes. You know what I mean?
Right. They weren't meant to be the main characters.
Like Ringo's tag team partner. What was his name?
Curly Bill.
Yeah, Curly Bill. See, I'm sorry, I'm bad with movies, but like him and Wyatt Earp were supposed to be like they were like Hogan and like in the booking of the thing, they were like Hogan and Savage, and then these two are like the sidekicks or whatever. But they fucking stole the show. It's like, this movie should be about these guys. That's the better feud. I don't know why I'm talking about it like wrestling, but
no, I agree with
everything's you. Everything's baby faces and heels.
That's the way that's the way I look at things in real life too. But when it comes to that movie, yes, Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday were not meant to be the main attractions, but both of those actors brought those characters to life that it made us want to watch them more than the main attraction. So,
All right. So I got Johnny Ringo there. Aaron, who's next for you?
This is one that it's not necessarily one of my favorite movies, but I didn't know if anybody else would have it. And I think it needs to be on a list. And it is the shark from Jaws.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I saw it on a couple of those lists as well, ranking it at the 4th or 5th spot. And yeah, he was a main protagonist through the whole movie.
Yep. So you're gonna need a bigger boat.
And what made his character great, because like I said, it's not my favorite movie in the world, but I do like it. I don't like the sequels and everything. I think those are dumb. But his heel gimmick great, because you don't like it was the character was scarier because you didn't see him.
Yes, I was about to say that. He's
right.
He's it was like he's the menace. He's the menace in the background that eventually, he's
You're
gonna
show
see it
up.
Eventually. Mm-hmm.
But it's the and like seeing the other people's reactions to it and the shit that's going down, but you don't necessarily see them. And it's like, I know we weren't going to talk about like the cinematic things of it or whatever, but it was great filmmaking of, we can't afford to operate this fucking shark so much because, it's a pain in the fucking ass logistically and everything. So we'll use like perspective filming and all that shit. And it actually made it scarier not seeing the shark than it did actually seeing it. Like if you would have seen Jaws attacking everybody, it would have been a hokey ass movie, and I don't think it would have.
Oh yeah,
and
if they would have made horror film.
If they would have made that movie today, that's exactly what you would have seen, because like you said, it would have been all CGI and special effects, and they'd have had the shark on the screen as much as you could possibly see the fucking shark.
Yeah. But if that shark would have been on that movie the entire time, and I'm not knocking it because I love the fucking shit, it would have been like Batman. You know what I mean? It would have been this.
Right. No, I agree.
Like,
the anticipation
horrible
is what
shark.
builds you up for that movie. The music, panning to all the people on the beach, showing the water, just showing the fin go by. It's like, yes, I'm waiting. I want it. So, I agree.
Archie?
Next on my list, again, not one of my favorite movies. I like part one very much, but never really became a huge. I'm more of a Batman fan, but my next on my list is Lex Luthor from the Batman series, from the Superman series.
Superman, the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor.
Yes, the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor. Gene Hackman is a damn fine actor. He personified that role, and it was perfect for it.
He actually did. He did for that role what I don't know that any other actor could have at the time, because if you look at Lex Luthor in the comic books, he's much more of a physically imposing character,
right?
And everything. And Gene Hackman took more of a. He's still a successful businessman, and he's still like a bad guy. But what he did is he made him almost like a used car salesman Shylock type of businessman, and it made him even worse. It's like, oh, not only is he this Lex Luthor, but he's also a fucking sleazebag.
Right.
Yeah, and what supervillain? What other supervillains like? What's your plan for world domination? Real estate.
Right.
Donald Trump.
Oh yeah. But a great side story of that is they were trying to get that Superman movie made, and they got Marlon Brando in it, and that was the big get, because he's in it for what, 15 minutes, if that. And it, like, if you watch the first Superman, it's Marlon Brando in Superman. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like they put his name on the top of it, and rightfully so. I'm not knocking Marlon Brando, but then the next thing was like they needed to get a Lex Luthor, and they went to Gene Hackman, and Hackman was like, "All right, I'll do the movie," and then they like showed him like this like skull piece or whatever, and he's like, "I'm not wearing that," and they're like, "Well, Lex Luthor's bald." He's like, "He ain't anymore." Like,
right.
Not now. Like, I ain't doing that. Fuck that. I'm not putting a fucking bald cap on. Like, I just think that's funny that he big dicked him.
Like,
it's like the only thing he did to him.
He's like, nope. Shit. Lex Luthor has big hair now.
Yeah, he's got a perm. It's just the way it is.
He's got a perm, right? All right, Nate, next on your list.
Okay, so the next on my list is, and again, like I said, we always wind up talking about life like wrestling because we're wrestling guys and we use the terminology. But my next on my list is I actually have a heel stable.
Okay.
Because they are two of my favorite movies, and I love the stable of heels from the Kill Bill movies.
Well done.
Oh yeah,
I like it.
It's like
from Bud to Ellie Driver to Vernita to Oren Ishii, all the way up to Bill. It's like, I love the way it plays out. Like, and I hate to, again, using wrestling terminology, but she's working her way through the heels to get to the main event heel.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love those fucking movies. So, like, those are two of my favorite movies of all time.
Bill was the Ric Flair, and she was going through the rest of the Horsemen to earn her title shot.
Yes.
So yes, I agree with it. That first fight scene with her and Oren and Ishii in part one is iconic. Her in the Crazy Eights attire, yeah.
Yeah, the Crazy Eights. That's one of, like, Pulp Fiction is literally my favorite movie.
Right.
But it's weird because I watch the Kill Bill movies more because I just fucking the writing, the visuals, the fight scenes, the story. Those movies are, and you can't watch them. You have to watch them back to back.
Oh yeah,
I haven't watched them.
The other one.
Sorry, I haven't watched them a lot, but there's a lot of humor in it too.
Oh yeah,
like when Bill's like, "I'm just fucking with you," like that. Just that little, like he's such a psycho, but just the way he says that, and like I said, I mean, the Crazy 8 scene, like Archie mentioned, is so great, and then the just each fight has its own individual thing. Like Bud doesn't even fight fair, he doesn't even really fight her when she gets buried alive and shit, and then the fight in the and I also love I know I'm going on and on and on about these movies, but I love the differences between the different settings and the different fights. Some fights are longer. Or one fight is in a big sprawled out area, and then there's literally a fight in a little house trailer.
See, that's the thing though. Each fight had to have its own setting and own build up because of the vendetta she had against each. You understand? Like you mentioned her fighting in the trailer. That's against Daryl Hannah. That had to be in close proximity because you wanted to see them actually fighting. You didn't want to see them doing a bunch of flips or sword play. Right. You know what I mean? When she takes Daryl Hannah's other eye, you're like, yes. You know what I mean?
Or she fights she fights Bernita in her suburban kitchen.
In her living room, right.
Yeah, and
my favorite scene from that. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I like I said, I haven't watched those. I've maybe watched them 2 or 3 times, so I don't have all the memories of it or whatever. But I think that's the coolest scene of that whole fucking movie is when she basically tells that little girl, "Like I'll be waiting for you. You're probably gonna want some revenge on this.
You're gonna want revenge.
You're gonna want vengeance, and I'll be waiting.
I'll be waiting.
And I understand that. So
you have to wonder. You have to wonder if Quentin Tarantino thought to himself, "Damn, if I ever wanted to make a part 3, that's the perfect storyline to build off of." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That little girl coming of age.
And instead of Kill Bill, you can name it Kill Boo.
Yeah, me and my buddies were talking about that recently. We were doing throwing trivia questions at each other, and one of them actually he was like, "What's the bride's name in Kill Bill?" And I knew the name, Beatrix Kiddo. Yeah. I was like, "How are you one of the only people at this table that know the name?" I'm like, "Because they only say it once in the movie. That's it. It's one time and it's done."
What you should have said is when they asked the question, "What was her name?" You should have said,
right. But no, that I agree with you on those. And then of course her last scene with Bill, you know what I mean, is perfect because it hurt her to kill him because obviously she had a child with him. She, so much going on, but you had to have that resolution of her finally ending it all. Otherwise, the movie is named wrong because it's not Kill Bill.
Yeah.
So.
I think Aaron's next.
Yep.
Okay. The next one on my list, and now I said Jaws was just one that even though it wasn't my favorite movie, I think it deserved to be mentioned. Lecter was the one that I just put on there because it's popular belief. These 3 are the personal ones of mine, and not in any. I shouldn't say not in any particular order, but anyway, I'm rambling. But the next one on my list is John Doe from 7.
Yes, Kevin Spacey.
Good choice.
And I know there might be people be like, "Oh, don't celebrate Kevin Spacey." I'm not celebrating Kevin Spacey.
Hey, Kevin Spacey was actually found innocent in a court of law. And the last I checked, you're innocent unless you're proven guilty in a court of law. So.
Okay. I'm just saying.
And here I'm going to say, Kevin Spacey had a great body of work when it came to his acting career. Yeah. Before anybody started trifling back into his past and seeing what he did.
Yeah. You're not gonna get any rejections here because I almost put him on my list for his role in Usual Suspects. So
I agree.
Guys are so saying. But yes, back to John Doe.
Yeah, I just think John Doe is he's the worst. I think, like, fictional villain character. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if like Hitler's depicted in a movie or something, he's a horrible human being. But just, I don't know of a character that's like a villain that's written. Like, I should have put him on the top of my list, honestly. But I don't know if there's like a character that was written that was a bigger, sinister human being. You know what I mean?
He has no feeling. He has no empathy. He has no. He's such a dark person.
Yeah, and like, there's been crazier scenes and creepier, weirder, whatever unveilings or since then. But like, I think we would watch 7 in the theater. I think, but like when they're looking for him that whole movie, and like he finally just shows up on the steps and he's got like his fingertips cut off, and he's like, "I think you're looking for me," or whatever. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And that whole movie is fucking dark. It's raining the entire time, and it's just, but his character is just such a piece of shit. And it's almost, and he's almost similar to Jaws, that like they're chasing the heel, so you don't see him until like, almost the end of the fucking movie. And when they do finally unveil him, it's like, oh my god, he's creepier than I thought he was gonna be.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? It's just right. It's just like I think he's just the ultimate bad guy ever in a movie. I should have fucking ended with him, but it's okay.
No, I think that's a great pick. I'll be honest with you. The whole movie itself is a mind trip. You know what I mean? The way that it plays out, and Kevin Spacey is the perfect villain for that movie, in my opinion, because you don't always see Kevin Spacey as the main villain in certain movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a shock, So
it's actually my probably my one of my 3, and I'm as an actor, and again, we're not talking about his personal life. I don't care about that. As an actor, Kevin Spacey is actually one of my top 10 actors of all time. That movie, that role in that movie, like I said, the Kaiser Sose role, and then and again, I'm getting off track here, but I just wanted to make mention of his fantastic performance in the movie American Beauty.
Underrated fucking movie that he was in, The Ref.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh, yes.
Great fucking movie.
A Beautiful Mind. I know that's a crazy movie, and but he's great in it. And it was kind of a stupid movie, but his character in it was fantastic. Fred Claus.
Yeah.
With Vince Vaughn, because he plays a guy coming here to stop Santa Claus. You know what I mean?
And House of Cards is a great TV show too.
Yes, it is.
And I'm not a huge like music movie fan, like a movie based on a musician or whatever, because I think they're usually kind of hokey. You know what I mean? But that fucking Bobby Darin movie he made is really good.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. I agree.
But we'll stop putting over Kevin Spacey and whatever. But yeah, just like I said, I should have mentioned him last because I think he's the best. I think that's the best movie villain of all time.
All right, Archie, who you got next?
All right. This was based on me looking through some lists and everything like that. I completely forgot about her. As I've seen, we haven't had any women on the list yet, so I'll give a nod to her. Annie Wilkes from Misery.
Yes.
With James Caan.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah. The downright torture she puts James Caan through. I mean, that's a villain through and through to me.
And there's not a lot of, and I'm going back to the first time I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a simplistic nature to her as a villain that's almost scarier than an over the top villain, like
right.
Yeah.
the best kind is somebody where you can be like, oh, that could actually be a person.
Right. Exactly.
Kind of like John Doe. There's sick fucks out there like that.
And there's a lot of, I don't want to say it, like there's a lot of characters that when you watch it, you can be like, yeah, that was whatever. But there's not a lot of characters where you could be like, I couldn't see anybody else playing that character.
No, you're right. That had to be Kathy Bates.
You know what I mean? Like if they tried to remake that movie with somebody else, I'd be like, really?
There's nobody in Hollywood with that range right now.
Yeah. It's like you can't make fucking Misery with fucking Megan McCarthy as Kathy Bates' character.
Right.
It's like, that's fucking
good call. Good call.
I was just trying to think of some plump actress. Sorry.
No, I agree. If they did say they were redoing it, I don't think I'd watch it, because who are you going to get to replace Kathy Bates and James Caan? He was fantastic in it too. So.
And there's also times where sometimes I'm like, and I know this is getting a little off topic, but do they really have to remake everything? Does anybody have an original idea anymore? Like,
oh no, they don't. They don't.
Nope.
And the other thing too is like, it's not even like we're gonna remake it, but it's like we're gonna completely remake it
and change everything,
make it totally different, but call it the same thing. It's like, what is going on?
See, Aaron says that about 6 months ago. A buddy of mine is like, "Hey, they redid White Man Can't Jump," which is one of my favorite movies, by the way. I'm like, "Oh, great!" I'm like, I got to check that out. He's like, "Yeah, it'll be on Netflix next week." So I put it on a week later, and aside from the name, it's not White Man Can't Jump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guys they picked, it's not. They didn't get anyone close to Woody Harrelson or Wesley Snipes. The storyline changed. They made it overly racist, because everything the white guy says immediately turns into, "Oh, are you racist?" You know what I mean? It's like, wow, what a woke piece of crap. You know what I mean?
And that's,
or when they,
I'm glad you brought it. I'm glad. Hold on. I'm sorry, Archie brought up the woke thing, because it's like, I'm kind of liberal in a lot of my feelings about things and everything like that. But they're like, oh, and I know they didn't do this, but I'm just gonna say it. It's like, oh, we're gonna redo like somebody name a fucking movie with like an ensemble cast.
This is hard to do on the top of my head.
I know, and I know they remade it a bunch, but it's like, oh, we're gonna remake Ghostbusters. Oh,
right.
What are we gonna do different? Like, they're all Puerto Rican now.
Right.
Okay. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's weird.
Or something they really did do. We're gonna make the Fresh Prince, but we're gonna make it like a drama, like Melrose Place or something.
Right, and dark.
That looked horrible.
And real dark.
That looked horrible. I didn't watch it. I know.
I didn't either.
I know you're not as big of a fan of the. I know you're not as big of a fan of the Fresh Prince as I was, but I thought it was fucking hilarious. And when I was like, "Oh, Bel Air," I'm like, "What the fuck is this?"
Right.
I'm good.
My kids were real into. My kids were real into a show on the WB called Riverdale, which was Archie comics but made into a live action TV show.
Yeah, and they made it all like fucking.
And they made it about. Not only that, they made them devil worshippers, and there were crazy, mysterious shit going on. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, who does this appeal to? Other devil worshippers? You know what I mean?
Or when they redid Saved by the Bell, like they did a new version of Saved. They did like a. I didn't watch. I was gonna watch it, but then I read about it. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, no, it was bad. I watched one episode of that and 2 of the new Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and I looked at my wife and I'm like, kill the TV. I'm like, before I bust it, kill it.
I miss when television was for the most part just like not like a show like Saved by the Bell. It was just supposed to be funny and carefree, and you laugh, But now it's just like everything they remake, they get like, oh, we gotta put a trans person,
but this is what I don't get though, Aaron. And I'm not judging anybody, and I know you aren't either. Neither is Nate. But Saved by the Bell had something for everybody in it, and they dealt with real world problems on that show too. Anorexia, taking speed, you know what I mean? Kids cramming for their tests and things like that. And they had African American, white, Jewish, Spanish, pure white, like Richie, California white people, you know what I mean? So who was it oppressing? Why did they need to change that and make, you know what I mean? They even had gay characters on there and things like that. So I just never understood, why are we changing this to make it even more inclusive when it was already inclusive? That's like saying, oh, everybody can get in, and then 6 months later going, oh, by the way, now we're really letting everybody in. What? You had to make that statement twice?
Like there were a couple shows like, and this is like how I'll not placate, but how I'll say, like, it's not just like the woke thing with it. Like during COVID, like when they started making shows again, there were like, I watched like a couple Law and Orders, and they were like wearing the masks and doing all this stuff. It's like, I don't want to watch TV,
right?
To be reminded,
right? I
want the shit that's going on right now.
Exactly. We see COVID every day. I don't want to see it on television.
It's make fucking believe.
There was you guys remember the cartoon, The Critic, with John Lovitz?
Yeah.
There was an episode where he goes to Hollywood to write. He's writing a script, and one of the big Hollywood directors, the owner of one of the studios, is there. He's like, okay, everybody take out your televisions and start scrolling, and give me 5 ideas by 5 p.m. And I swear that's what they're doing now in real life. It's like, watch old shit and try to make it different.
Yeah.
But,
listen, Nate, Screech. Listen, Screech, you can't elope. Don't call me a cantaloupe, you watermelon.
Yeah. But in this, like, now it'd be like, we're gonna remake Saved by the Bell. Okay. Who are we gonna cast as Screech? Screech is gonna be a furry now.
Right. What? Who's also a crossdresser.
Yeah.
All right, my next.
Off on our tangent. It's on you now.
My next villain is Thanos.
Good choice.
I can't talk much about it because I've never seen any of those movies.
Well, Thanos is the epitome of what Michael Hayes said a heel should be. A heel should absolutely positively believe that even though what he's doing is evil, he believes what he's doing is right. And Thanos believes what he's doing is right, and his portrayal in the Avengers movies is very well done. When they said they were going to do that story arc, I was worried. Right. And they did not hold back, and they did it.
Nope.
They did it great, and the portrayal was great of Thanos and his character, and it was just all very well done and fantastic.
They actually made that character come to life like it walked straight out of a comic book. Yes. You know what I mean? They changed nothing about it. And to sort of defend him a little bit, well, I mean, he lost a lot in his time, in the galaxy and everything like that. He lost his daughter. He had a lot of heartbreak. So in his mind, what he thought he thought, like you said, what he was doing was good. He was fixing things and making things better for himself. And, I don't want to say that, I could agree with him in that, but there are people in this world who have hard knock life and try to make things better only for themselves, not thinking of others.
Yes.
So,
and
all he wanted to do was snap his fingers.
Yeah. All he wanted to do was snap his fingers. And you know what? He was trying to help us all. If you eliminate half the population of the universe, then there's more food for everybody else.
True. And if you eliminate all the crazy people, might be left good on the world.
But yeah, like I said, I thought that, again, when I heard that they were doing that whole story arc from the comics, I thought, man, I hope they don't fuck this up. And they didn't. They delivered, and they really delivered on that character. And it's like you said, Archie, he is, at the end of the day, he's cruel, and he is unwavering, and he's almost like a what do you want to say? Almost like a religious zealot, you know.
Right.
But he's unwavering in his belief. But like you said, you also see the tender side of him with his daughter, and all of that. So you can see he's not human, but his humanity as well.
Right. Exactly.
So. All right, Aaron, you're next.
All right, like I said, I have two left, and we'll kind of keep on the comic superhero type trope, and it is Bane.
Bane.
Good choice.
Bane.
The League of Shadows.
I have a quick question though. Are you talking about Batman and Robin Bane with Poison Ivy, or Bane the Dark Knight? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Tom Hardy. Hardy.
I understand. I'm only playing.
That fucking character's amazing.
That also goes back to what I was saying about Thanos, a character that totally believes what they are doing is right.
Right.
You know what I mean? He doesn't think what he's doing is evil. He thinks he's setting the world right.
And I know, like I said, we didn't want to get too much into like the cinematic or theatrics or whatever of it, but Hardy was kind of like, how do I say? Heath Ledger gets a lot of credit, which is deserved for like his adaptation of the Joker. But I don't think Tom Hardy gets enough credit for like reimagining and rethinking what the Bane character was.
I agree with that.
Like he said, he came up with that voice and like put it out there, and everybody was like, "What the fuck is he doing?" And like nobody got it until like they finally like saw it all come together, and they were like, "Holy shit, this fucking character's great!" And he's, like you said, Nate, like he thinks what he's doing's right, but he's like the worst of everybody, you know? And his character's, how do I say it? Like his character's smarter than everybody else, and he's just a psychopath. And his character also has like the greatest death of any villain I've ever seen in movie history. His death is just amazing.
It really is. And you know what else?
Like his death is as chaotic as his life was. You know what I mean?
He's like Randy Savage.
Yeah. Like I wanted when I heard Randy Savage died, I was like, oh no. But then they were like, he had a heart attack while driving in a Jeep Cherokee. Went across 4 lanes of traffic, hit a guy on a motorcycle, and slammed into a palm tree. I'm like, that's how Randy Savage needed to go.
Right.
Like if he was gonna go, that is how it needed to happen. And if Bane was gonna go, it just needed to happen by getting hit with like a bat cycle. It's like that's the fucking way it needed to go.
There's a thing that I have about, and I'm getting to a point, but talking about Dark Knight Rises is the and I know you're not a big horror movie fan, Aaron, but and Kendall and I are. In the movie The Hills Have Eyes, there is a scene, I won't go into too much detail, but there is a scene where I always say that the scene in a movie that in every movie I've ever seen, this is the scene where so much goes so wrong so quickly. Like it's just there's like
catch the guy on fire.
Just that whole entire, all of that whole like 10 minutes is like the most intense. Everything's going so wrong so quickly I've ever seen in a movie. But in Dark Knight Rises, there is one of those moments. The Bane Batman fight scene. Not only is Batman defeated, not only is his back broken, but then Bane shows him, and look, we have your Batcave and your arsenal and all of your shit. We've also taken all of your shit. So now you're a cripple and I have all of your shit. And it's just like so much goes so wrong for Batman in such a small amount of time. Bruce Wayne is just...
That is funny.
Like Bane could have just been like, it was basically Bane being like, suck it, man, suck it. What I have, you can suck it.
I broke your back. I broke your back and took all your shit.
Yeah. Fucked your ass and made you humble.
Yeah. Yes. But good call on Bane.
Sorry, Bane just turned into the Iron Sheik for a second.
Archie?
Yes, up next on my list is one of my. I've never been I'm a fan, but I'm not a huge glorified. You know what I mean. I know everything about it in regard to this movie series, but he is one of my favorite all-time villains, Darth Vader.
Okay. And I'm a star. You know how big a Star Wars geek I am.
I know that, and my son is as well. And I've seen all the movies.
I think I know.
Nate, but
I know who Nate's number one probably is. It's not Darth Vader, but I'm assuming it's from Star Wars.
But yes, Darth Vader is. If you would have asked me when I was a kid, and we had 3 Star Wars movies, because I tell my kids that all the time. The reason that Star Wars fans now are so and they're always bitching and moaning and complaining about everything is especially the younger ones, is they're spoiled. Right. There's nowadays there's 80 hours of Star Wars content to watch. When I was a kid, I had 3 movies, and I watched them over and over and over again. And Darth Vader. When I was a kid, I would have told you Darth Vader and the Joker were my 2 favorite villains on the planet.
Yes, sir.
I mean, and I'm not trying to cut you off, Archie. You go ahead.
No.
And it's like, Nate, like you said, we don't want to keep bringing it back to wrestling, but it kind of is now. What you just said about Star Wars is kind of like how wrestling is now.
Right.
There's so much of it.
We have 13 hours of wrestling.
There's so much of it they don't appreciate what they have in front of them.
Right.
And the other thing about Vader, and the only reason I wouldn't put him on my villain list is, Nate, you're a bigger Star Wars geek than any of us. At the end of the day, he's like the biggest baby face.
He turns face at the end.
But wasn't the prophecy of all this shit was that Anakin was going to be the guy that took down the fucking heels, and he ultimately and it took a long time to get there, and he lost his legs and shit, but it eventually happened.
Right.
So the prophecy was right.
At the end of the day, you're right about that. And again, like we said about Bane, and like we said about Thanos,
there, he was kind of a prick.
Vader thought what he was doing was correct because he lost his wife, and at the time he thought he lost his children. You know what I mean? So he didn't think he was being a villain. He thought he was just doing what was he needed to be doing. But again, that's the wrestling, I guess, the wrestling fan in me too. We go from, he's this badass little boy who's a face, you know what I mean, young teenage kid who turns heel, and then at the tail
worst
end of
kind
it
of
all,
heel.
The worst kind of heel. The evil shit grinning heel, you know what I mean, blowing everybody up. To then all of a sudden at the last minute, shit, he's a face again. I don't know how I feel about this. You know what I mean?
He kind of had a Hogan run.
Right, he kind of had a Hogan run. And here's the thing: his heel run. During his heel run,
and Vince was Palpatine or whatever his fucking name.
So wait, when Vader throws Palpatine into that mine shaft, that's him saying that doesn't work for me, brother?
Yeah, it's like 19. Yeah. That's like WrestleMania 19.
No, but you look at Vader and you look at that heel run, again, wrestling fans, it was such a dramatic heel run. His grandson in the newer movies took over as the heel.
Yeah, he wants to be the heel granddad was.
Right. He didn't want to be the face that he turned to, or like his uncle. He wanted to be a badass heel.
Like Randy Orton. But
right.
I'm just imagining Vader walking onto a ship, and it's like wow.
That's good.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was just gonna say,
slam us with your Star Wars knowledge.
If you isolate Vader as his villainous persona,
right?
He's almost like, and horror movie fans can attest to this, just those 3 movies. If you just take those 3 movies where he's only Vader, okay, you have none of the backstory of Anakin, losing his girl and blah 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 blah, or any of his redemption story, any of that. You just take. He's almost, I would say, character development wise, it's 1,000 times better. But from a villain standpoint, he's almost like a Michael Myers type villain because he's always stalking. You know what I mean? Like that's the thrill of Michael Myers.
When they think they're about to destroy him, he's right there, more powerful than ever.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And this might not make sense, but putting it into like another thing before you got the prequel movies, he was kind of like the Joker too.
You didn't have a lot of the story.
You didn't know what the fuck made him that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that made it even creepier. It's like, what the fuck happened to this guy?
Right. Why
blowing up planets and doesn't give a fuck?
Right.
What happened?
Chopping people's heads off for no reason. No, but like I said, when I watch Star Wars, I'm watching it, and I mean the main 3, obviously. I'm watching it for Vader. You know what I mean? And that's just the wrestling fan in me again, not wanting to root for the faces, because I'll be honest with you, as great as Luke Skywalker was, Vader was cooler.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah. I mean, 99.9% of the time, the villain's cooler than the babyface. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So my next one, we're going back to Batman. Heath Ledger's Joker.
Okay. Well, I will let you know that I have Joker on my list as well, but not the Heath Ledger Joker. Go right ahead.
Okay. So you guys each have one more left?
Yep.
Yeah. After Heath Ledger's Joker, I have one more. Yes.
Okay.
Heath Ledger's Joker it's my favorite Joker, and I really like other portrayals of the Joker. I'm not a fan of the latest one.
Right.
What's his face?
Joaquin,
the 30 Seconds to Mars guy.
What's his name?
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. I'm not a big fan of that Joker.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Joaquin for a minute too, and I'm like, oh, Joaquin did great.
No.
In the non-standalone.
Yes. Oh no, Joaquin Phoenix was fantastic, but no, Heath Ledger's Joker is like, I remember watching that movie, and I'm a huge Batman goof anyway, but I remember watching that movie and thinking to myself, this is literally the coolest psycho I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
He's like, just little things that he does as the character. Like, he's like, have you seen Harvey Dent? Where's Harvey Dent? Have you seen Harvey Dent? Who's Harvey Dent? Like, he just, or when he's
dropper. I like when he's like dropper, and he's like, bad choice of
words. Or just that little scene where he's dressed up as a nurse. He's like, hi.
Hi.
And because like Harvey Dent's like, and he's like, hi. Like, I don't know, just
and it's how do I want to say it? I love and when they said that Heath Ledger was going to play the Joker, I'm going to say that I was guilty of it. I was like, really? Come on. One of my favorite things to happen in like a movie is when they announce that somebody's going to play a character and people that are fans of it shit on it before they even see it. You know what I mean? I hate that. But I was guilty when they were like, Heath Ledger is going to play the Joker. I'm like, really? The Knight's Tale guy and 10 Things I Hate About You is going to play the Joker? And then he did it, and I'm like, you fucking owned it, man. It's like, I don't even know this guy, and I'm proud of him. It's like, that was fucking great.
And you got to give him a shout out.
Like that.
You got to give him a shout out also for using a Gorilla Monsoon line in that movie. When he talks about him and Batman, and he's like, it's the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. And I was like, that's a Gorilla Monsoon line.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, he just
hit me.
Hit me. I want you to do it. I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Like he's just. It's funny because of how he
set a fire truck on fire.
Yes.
What the fuck? This is so great.
And those cops, when those cops drive by it, they even look at it like, "Oh fuck! Oh my god, this guy." But yeah, the other thing he does. Can
I say? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say the other thing that he does great in that performance, Heath Ledger, is he literally dances that fine line between humorous psycho and the most dangerous psycho, and he'll do it in one sentence. You know what I mean? He'll just change his tone or change the look on his. It's one of the most captivating film performances ever.
And I know we're talking about Heath, but you know what my favorite throwaway thing from that movie is, and it's real quick. They're not in it very long, probably like 2 minutes. But it's the rookie cop and the veteran cop, like beat cop guys, and the rookie cop wants to like get involved in it. And that veteran cop's like, "What are you doing? Slow down." No, like we're good. Like that guy's seen some shit in the Gotham. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are you fucking doing? But his character, that there's so much funny shit in that movie, and like you said, the whole nurse thing, and I love the dropper or whatever. It's like bad choice of words. It's just everything that fucking happens. It's a great fucking movie, and like I said, the only reason I put Bane above it is just because I just think he's a bigger scumbag than Joker. You know what I mean? Because Joker doesn't want to kill everybody. He wants to play, and he wants to have followers, and he wants to have this. And Bane just wants to destroy everything, and that's why I think he's worse.
Well, Aaron, you're next, I believe.
I only have one more, and I left him for last because he is the most realistic one I think we're going to have, and it is Doyle from Sling Blade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what a bastard.
Piece of fucking shit.
This person begat this person, this person begat this person. Lo and behold, somebody said some shit.
It's like, what's going on here? I got a fag and a retard, and it's just, don't isolate me saying that. But like,
that's another one where, as much as I like his music, that's another one where you're like, damn, Dwight Yoakam.
Good actor, man.
Yeah, the guy's like everybody knows a piece of shit like Doyle.
Yeah, and like you said, Dwight Yoakam, like, oh, Dwight Yoakam, he's one of the most likable guys on the planet. And then for like 2 hours and 15 minutes, you're just like, I hate this son of a bitch. And by the time it gets brained, you're like, yeah, that needed to happen. And he's just I think he's the worst. Like I said, I was like, I don't want to talk about John Doe or this guy first as my first. But yeah, he is a completely unlikable character. Even the funny shit he says, you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's just a horrible fucking human being. And I think it's one of the greatest acting performances in a movie ever.
Yeah, it's like I said, I don't even know if
you'd consider it a villain, but
yeah, he's definitely a villain. But like you said, it's also funny because it's one of my favorite movies, so you think I would have thought of him, but I guess I didn't think of him when I was thinking of villains. But when you think about it, like you said, he's the most realistic villain on the list because everybody knows a fucking asshole like this guy.
Yeah. And we all want to chop his fucking head in half. But we just don't have the the gall to do it, like Carl did.
Yeah. Ain't got no gas in it.
I just think he's a piece of shit, and I haven't watched a lot of movies where it like I don't want to say it like watching a movie, I can just be like, okay, like I understand it's a movie, but like when I watch that movie and I watch that movie, I'm like, this guy's a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like I fucking hate this guy. I hate this fucking character, and I want him to die. Like I remember watching that movie, not knowing what the end was gonna be, and being like, I hope this fucking guy dies. Like he needs to die. And then when he died, I'm like, good. I'm happy.
Yes. You deserve to die.
But that's my last one.
All right. Well,
Hatch ahead, Doyle.
As I told Nate, I also have the Joker on my list for my number one, but it is Jack Nicholson's Joker. It is no secret, I've made this known on Facebook multiple times. Michael Keaton is my Batman. Therefore, Jack Nicholson is my Joker. And again, I don't think I could have seen anybody else playing him in that Batman movie. Nicholson and Keaton worked great together. And the iconic lines that he delivered, during in that movie were perfectly said by Jack.
Oh yes,
ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
And I take nothing away from that performance because it's funny because Michael Keaton is my Batman too, even though Heath Ledger's my Joker. But the way Nicholson played him as more of a mobster style Joker,
right?
Exactly. Oh yeah, fantastic. You can take nothing away from that, and also. He was the Joker for me when I was a kid. Him and Cesar Romero was the campy Joker in the 60s Batman movie or show.
Exactly.
But, yeah, and like you said, he has such good lines. And
where does he get those wonderful toys?
Yeah. Bob, gun. And then he just shoots Bob.
Right. But see, here's the thing. In the same regard, I will not discredit Heath Ledger because him as the Joker, rest in peace, made his career because he was fantastic as him. Mm-hmm. It's just when I look at you know what I mean, the 1A and 1B are Nicholson and Ledger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can keep everybody else. If Heath Ledger did not die before that Batman movie came out, he would have been the Joker for at least 10 years, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and also Jack Nicholson, smart motherfucker.
Yep.
When they asked him to sign on to do that movie, he pretty much said the only way that I'll play the Joker in your little Batman movie, is if I get to make money from every single Batman movie you ever make till the day I die.
Yep.
So essentially, he's only ever been in one Batman movie, but Jack Nicholson has made millions of dollars off of every other Batman film ever made because to agree to do that, he put that in his contract.
Right.
Yeah, and two funny things. DeVito, they wanted him to play Penguin.
Right.
And I'm not knocking Danny DeVito because I love Danny DeVito. But he was like, if I'm going to do that, I want the Jack Nicholson deal. And they were like, no.
No.
and he was like, why not? And they were like, because you're not Jack Nicholson.
Right.
You're Danny DeVito.
Right.
But do you know what my favorite line that Jack Nicholson Joker has?
Yes, go ahead.
No. My balloons. Those are my balloons.
Those are my balloons.
Yes. He stole my balloons. Why didn't you tell me he had one of those things? Best fucking line in the whole movie.
It seems I may have a bat in my belfry.
Or the Beauty and the Beast. Or whatever. And he's like, but if anybody would call you a beast.
If anybody else calls you beast.
That's a great fucking movie. And Jack obviously does a great job in it. And if I had to pick somebody after Heath, it would be Jack. But it's you can't even compare them though because it's totally different takes on it.
No, they both stand they're both head and shoulders above the rest, in my opinion. All right, Nate, your last one.
All right, and my last one, it goes back to Star Wars.
To me, Jar Jar Binks, is it?
No, but to me, the greatest villain in the history
I
of movies is Emperor Palpatine.
Understandable.
Say that.
The guy, I mean,
he's a shit stirred.
Not just that, but if you watch the Clone Wars, no matter how it shook out, he wins. He literally played the galaxy like a fiddle, and he manipulated. And in the end, he winds up going down a fucking tube, but then he gets resurrected. But anyway, no, just the portrayal of Ian McDiarmid as him, and another reason I think that Palpatine to me, and this is because of my super geekdom, really, because I can see where, like Archie, where you would say Vader, because Darth Vader is kind of the focus villain of the movies. With Palpatine, there's so much more to his character when you watch all the movies than also you watch all the TV shows.
Right.
And there's and read the novels like I do and everything. So there's a whole bigger, he becomes so much bigger of a character if you watch and read everything.
I'm a base fan. I enjoy the movies. I'll watch them. But if they're on, I can see missing them every now and then. You are a Star Wars fan. You know what I mean? That, like my son. You know everything going on. You know what if they announce a new show and tell you what galaxy it's happening in, you'll know what book or what TV show it's already been on that you might know a little bit about it. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I'll remember parts of it because like Nate watches it all the time.
Right.
I was raised around it, and like our cousin Josh is a big fan. So like I'll remember parts, and sometimes I laugh. Like is Star Wars? There's parts that are supposed to be funny, right?
Yeah, there's humor in Star Wars.
Yes.
But then there's things that aren't supposed to be funny that I think are funny. Like, isn't there a part where he gets like hit with like some fucking electricity and it all fucked him up?
Yeah, that's how he becomes the way he looks.
Right.
Yeah. But I just remember watching the scene and I'm like, I'm glad this guy's getting a little fucked up. You know what I mean? It's like everything's going good for him, and then he's like, and then he gets like fucking microwaved. I'm like, yeah, I take that. And that's when he's got to like now like he was like a silver haired white man, and then he got hit with some fucking bolts, and now he's got to wear like a robe and shit because he's all fucking jerkied.
Yes,
and that's when he gets really fucking mean, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, he didn't have to hide it anymore. He could bring. He could be the inner badass came out.
And I mean, there's so like, I'm not gonna go into.
I just barely layman explained why Palpatine. What's his name? Pompadour or whatever. Got really mad.
Palpatine.
Pompadour. That's Vince.
What might be fun is I'm going to learn the story of Star Wars, and then I'm going to get drunk, and then I'm going to reiterate the entire story of the 6 episodes back to Nate and see how he feels about it.
That's got to be an episode.
There's drunken history. This is drunken Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah. Oh no.
Well,
fucking laptop's about to die.
That's fine because we're done. But I want to thank you guys for joining me. I want to thank all of our listeners for listening. Do you guys have any parting words for our listeners as we wrap up this edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast?
Aaron, do you want to announce what we might be doing next week? Because I know you talked about it with us in the chat. So,
what I'm looking to put together next week is a pilot of a trivia show that I'm putting together. So I've got Archie and Mark as wanting to be contestants. Nate, would you like to be the other contestant?
I thought you were talking to some other people too.
I was, but they haven't got back to me yet.
Oh.
And I hate procrastinators. If you don't want to be, maybe Kendall would want to be, and you can take points. I need 3 people and a point marker. That's what I need. But anyway, maybe I'll find somebody by then. But it's just a trivia competition that I'm going to put together, and I'm not saying we're going to do it every week, but maybe every other week. Because I'm not just looking through a book, I'm actually researching the questions and stuff. So that might be what we're doing next week.
And I think that sounds like a good idea.
It's a lot of work, so I need people to show up.
I will be there, sir.
And other than that,
trivia.
Archie likes to win.
Yes.
So, other than that, that is on the horizon as well, and we will see you all next time around here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Stay villainous out there, everybody, and have a great week.